Hey friends, so welcome back to my...
Oh my gosh, you call me friend!
He's not a friend, he's a donkey! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Bianca, and if any one of you remembers this donkey, he is Brandon. If any of you have not watched the previous video where I basically interviewed this man himself as well as my other friend Joash. So today we are actually going to just talk a bit about actually an interesting topic. In our case, I happen to be working as an investor in the real estate scene. Brandon himself is still doing investing in the startup scene. But having said that, well, for example, I do have YouTube as one of my creative side hustles. Brandon, on the other hand, would you want to kind of talk about, well, a startup that you started?
Sure, so I am currently CEO and co-founder of Byte In. We are a health tech app trying to help people build better diets.
First of all, how did you even come about with this?
Sure, so I founded Byte In because my dad has type 1 diabetes.
Oh.
So I grew up in a family where carbohydrate counting was a very big thing.
Okay.
And so what we did,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, yeah, what we did was we're combining a game with an AI image recognition system. So we want to encourage habit building while actually using existing habits to educate and try to encourage behavioral change. We saw diabetes as our first entry point, but when we were looking into diabetes, when we were building, we actually realized the problem goes a lot further than diabetes. Because when we talk about diets, right, it's one step away from obesity, it's one step away from cardiovascular disease, one step away from all the non-communicable diseases that are the #1 killer in Malaysia. So we thought we could actually do a lot of good if we actually managed to do what we're doing well. So that's where we actually try to broaden our focus a bit and try to solve the issue of preventive care in Malaysia. And not just Malaysia, but hopefully
eventually Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
and then Asia Pacific, and then the world.
Yes, world domination, my dream.
Slow and steady. But for you to eventually make that one step or the few steps that leads on to world domination, you are taking a risk. Let's just put it that way, aren't
That's
you?
true.
Considering there's so many different things that you could do during your spare time besides starting Byte In, is there any reason why?
Well, okay, so a few things. Firstly, why did I choose this as my outlet for my spare time? Well, I actually did it because I saw it as an issue. I saw it as a way I could actually make impact. And to me, it's always been more about how do I make a difference with what I built rather than the money side. Because money is, I say it now, who knows, maybe in 5 years I might change my answer, but for me right now, money is, as long as I have enough to live, it's not the biggest thing I have to worry about. What I see most impactful to my life is actually making a difference. So that's why I chose this as my, I wouldn't call it a side hustle, it's a bit more than a side hustle. Ideally, it would turn into more of the passion project within the short term, but yes, right now, I suppose the best way to frame it is a passion project. And whether or not I would consider full-timing, I think if you want to build something, and you are serious about building something, there's no way around it, you have to full-time at some point. The question is when.
But I guess making a big jump towards committing to something full-time, to some degree, there's always this thing about, what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered, say, would this still change your decision in terms of just staying back at your current job and then after that, just milking money from both ends?
I think it's a valid point. I'm not saying it's something you can't do. I think there are people that do it, and that's perfectly fine. For us, it's a bit of a case that to get things where they are, a lot of effort has to be put in. So the way I see it, sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it. You have to take the risk, because if you don't take the risk, you can't really expect everyone else on the team to take the risk when you're just sitting back drinking a pina colada somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to lead, you have to lead by example. You have to.
Besides that, let's just say, okay, some of the obvious benefits, let's just say if everything works out well, yeah, you have your pot of gold finance, the tangible benefits right in front of you. Well, okay, minus some of the more bragging rights associated things like fame and recognition. Is there any other reasons to sometimes consider making such a bold move?
Quite a few founders out there, they see it as the promise of, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. And sure, there's nothing wrong with that. You could be, if you do it right, absolutely you could be. Right? Well, to me, I see this as a problem that needs to be solved. Actually, something a co-worker of mine recently told me, not a co-worker, actually my co-founder recently told me, said, we are not going to be 25 forever. And it's a good point, because money will come and go, right? We can always find ways to earn money. Time is never going to come back. When I built Byte in my 20s, it's not something I could do in my 30s. It's a lot of late nights, early mornings, very little sleep, a lot of stress. I don't think it's something my body could take when I'm older. So while I'm young, money will come and go, time can't come back. That's why I'm willing to take that risk.
Here's the thing, I noticed something like a general culture that surrounds entrepreneurship-oriented ecosystems such as the likes of Silicon Valley, or I guess even in Malaysia, the entrepreneurial community, that it is particularly trendy to support the whole notion of quit your job, take a risk, burn the boats essentially, just go all out on whatever your passion project is, startup or not. But to some degree, it kind of makes me wonder, financially wise, is it actually just simply a privilege to take risk, especially in our youth? Is it actually always the best things for everybody?
So when you say if it's a privilege, I think we have to address that very much. Absolutely, I say it is a privilege. So I would be lying if I said, yeah, this Byte In is all by myself. And so even though I'm not really relying on any outside sources of funding from friends or family, it is the case that I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where my family is able to financially provide for themselves without needing me. I'm not the sole breadwinner. So it does give me that flexibility that I am able to take the risk as long as I cover my own losses. I don't really have to worry that much that my family is going to be in trouble, so to speak, if things go badly. I don't really have the right to say that no matter what your financial background is, you can be an entrepreneur. Like sometimes we have to be realistic that you have other responsibilities that you have to care for.
Yeah.
That said, I think if you really do think you want to pursue entrepreneurship, it's not so much a sense that you can't if you don't have that backing. It's sort of, the way I see it's more like a path, right? For me, I have certain advantages in life, that's why I could take the path I'm taking. If you don't, there's other paths, it's more winding, but you could get there. It doesn't mean that if you want to be an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that you have to give up a source of income. You can always start by building a stable source of income. It's sort of the middle ground. You get to do what you believe in while not really sacrificing everything, so to speak.
Do you actually have a certain milestone in mind where you go like, okay, after you cross a certain point, you know that I am taking unnecessary risks, I'm being rather delusional, it's time to just cut back?
I think that's a very good question to ask, because a lot of us, we have a tendency to fall in love with our baby, right?
Yes.
We have a tendency to fall in love with
Very
the idea.
much.
Very much. And absolutely, we delude ourselves, right? Yeah, like we just signed this contract, we're gonna sign this contract next month, we're gonna turn things around. For me, I would be lying if I said I haven't, and because I do think it's important, we need to fall in love with the idea, because otherwise how are you going to convince yourself to stick with something for so long on such a difficult problem, right?
Indeed. Yours is a particularly tough problem to solve.
It's a tough problem to solve, but that's why we have to fall in love with the idea, but it's also being accountable to risk. So the way we did it, me and my co-founders, what we did was we all had a chat, we sat down, we had a chat, we said, okay, how long, if we were to full-time this without any other source of income, on our savings alone, how long could we afford to do this? We came up to a sort of unanimous answer, 1 year. So that's why in a year, we'll see if we are not getting anywhere, then we have to face reality, go back, find stable jobs.
Also, having said so in the regions of Asia, I think I could actually extrapolate to Asia in general, where to some degree, I have to admit that failure isn't entirely well regarded for. What if you fail, let's just say, after a year or two, if you lasted to that long, and find yourself having to find a job? Would you have imagined, let's just say, the case of Byte In having quote-unquote derailed your whole career progress, or even your ability to find a job? Because I've seen that actually happen amongst many entrepreneurs, surprisingly.
So just that question, we talk a lot about risk, right? And I mean, that's the topic of the video.
Yeah, essentially.
We talk a lot about risk, but we're very cautious people by nature. But risk goes hand in hand with opportunity. If Byte In fails in a year, I don't see that as a risk of me losing the money that I put in. I see that as an opportunity for me to make the most of the money that I put in to grow myself as a person. Because in just a few months of managing Byte In, I've learned things that I haven't learned in years of corporate. Leadership, people management skills, actually surprisingly sales. Okay, this is how the Byte In sort of team dynamics is. As the guy who can't code, I have to fill in whatever roles people don't really want to deal with.
Okay.
Some people joke that CEO stands for Chief Everything Officer. In my case, it does mean like I do the jobs that nobody wants to do.
Yes.
But that also means that I have had the chance to learn a lot, and my team is fantastic. They put in a lot of effort. It's up to me to make that vision come true. You're under a lot of pressure to learn. You're under a lot of pressure to execute. That sort of pressure is not really highlighted in corporate, I feel.
Would you think that without Byte In, this actually may not have forced you to turn into the leader that you wanted to be?
Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't have. I think going up the corporate ladder, giving just a few years, stable, just doing my job well, getting promoted at every iteration. But for me, it's a way of fast-tracking my growth. Granted, it does come with its trade-offs. You don't spend a lot of time on a single task. You're learning as you go. There's nobody really to teach you. If you don't know what you don't know, then, well,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on camera, that's why
I think we all get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
essentially, you're in deep trouble.
it is a bit of a gamble. There's nobody really holding your hand, teaching you how to do things. In a corporate setting, you can be guaranteed that although it's slow, it's very steady. You will build your foundations, then you go up and you build your solid foundation. You'll stack up like a pyramid. With a startup, it's almost like you're building a tower, and if you didn't build your base properly, well, good luck,
It's gonna
brother.
tumble.
Yeah.
That is true. I'm actually curious about how you saw your emotional roller coaster actually riding throughout this whole journey. Or is there anything that you might want to share?
So I think back in university, I suffered a lot from imposter syndrome because I was surrounded by very smart people.
He's a Cambridge
No,
graduate.
but it is true. You go to Cambridge thinking you're smart, then you see what really smart people look like, and you go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not that smart after all. A lot of imposter syndrome, I sort of grew out of it after I left university because I got more confident in myself and in what I could do, what my shortcomings were, what my strengths were. With Byte In, because a lot of it is unfamiliar territory, that's sort of the point. You have to love what you do, but you can't just do what you love. You have to do things that are outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
For me, it was imposter syndrome coming back, but worse because this time I know I really don't know anything about what I'm doing. They say fake it until you make it, but for me, it's really I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. I'm learning as I go. So it's always the question: am I doing things right? Am I the right leader for my team? Am I the right guy to take this project to the next level?
So how do you balance all that imposter syndrome that, actually, to be honest, I think most of us will probably be no stranger to,
Yeah.
especially if you are going on your own set of personal ventures. How do you actually balance all these?
For me, the most valuable thing was having a team. What I can say is what helped me was having a very strong support network in my team, in my friends, in my family. I was very lucky in that sense. Well, actually, this is not really the healthiest thing to do, right?
Okay.
But
I'm getting a bit worried now.
no, this is not the healthiest thing to do. But back in university, I remember this very vividly. There was one point in the exam period where I just called a friend of mine, almost crying, saying like, I can't do this. It's too difficult. Right.
For your exam?
For my exams.
Okay.
I called him saying like, yeah, this is too difficult. I can't do this. Right. He sat down. He listened to me like ran for like a good 30 minutes, and then he just said one sentence. So what are you gonna do about it?
What are you going to do
What are you
about
gonna do about it? And I mean, honestly, it shut me up because it is very much like we can talk about all the challenges we face, and I'm not discounting the fact that you absolutely need to take care of your mental health. But at the end of the day, things are going to be tough, but we are going to have to deal with it.
So what are you going to do about
So what
it?
are you going to do about it?
Definitely, yeah. Basically, of course, if you need professional help, go seek professional help.
Absolutely. Do not try to be. This is just a phase.
We're not invincible.
Yeah.
If we need help, just admit it and seek help. But at the same time, yeah, you have a point. What are you going to do about it? And it gives you the sense of control. But of course, we have to still manage that sense of control in a healthy way.
Yes, stress is human. You shouldn't feel bad about feeling discouraged. You shouldn't feel bad about feeling like things are difficult. You should absolutely seek help when you need it. But for us, it's also the fact that sometimes we have to get back up.
Yeah. I guess the general consensus that we gathered from this whole conversation, it is pretty much okay to take risks, but do it responsibly, whilst acknowledging that different people may have different sets of privileges and, to be honest, unfair advantages.
Yes.
That it's not exactly public.
Yes, I think it's unfair to a lot to pretend the unfair advantages don't exist, because they do. They should be acknowledged. Because not everyone will have access to the same privileges. But at the same time, I would like to hope, at least, that unfair privileges aren't, how do I put it?
Like the pivot to make you successful.
Yes. Not everybody who works hard, not everybody who perseveres is going to succeed. But I don't think anybody succeeds without actually persevering.
I see where you're coming from. Is there anything else that you kind of wish that, let's just say, the younger version of you is watching this video, you might actually want them to know. So
I'd say
wisdom wise.
if you're gonna take a risk, gonna build a venture, you really should know why you're doing it. Because you can lie to everyone else, but you shouldn't lie to yourself. If you're gonna take risks, you should ask yourself first, right? Am I doing this because I want to be acknowledged? Am I doing this because I want to make a difference? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, but you should know why you're doing it.
With that essentially showcases, as much as how Brendan is a joke character, or the joke character,
Thank you.
he actually thought all these things through pretty in depth. Thanks a lot, for sharing about basically the realistic side of taking risks, in the form of being an entrepreneur. As much as how glorified it is just always good to take a step back or take a seat and then just have a discussion about the realities of it. At the end of the day, it's just being responsible about it.
Being responsible, knowing why you do it, and do what you believe in.
Fair enough.
Do what you believe in.
I remember Byte In, you're like trying to do some soft launch.
Yes.
What is it about? Since might as well.
Well, we are trying to see if people actually want
Your
what we are
product?
offering. Yes.
Okay.
So we do have an Instagram, we do have a LinkedIn, we do have a Twitter.
Yeah, I'll plug
Although
that.
the Twitter is a bit outdated. I've been a bit.
Well, it's time to update it then.
Yes, I've been a bit. But yes, we have a beta version of the app, so we are looking for people to test.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to help him, just sign up,
It
give
does.
your email.
That's not the right word. Alpha.
Well,
Alpha.
basically you're just trying to test and see how the user reception is, aren't you? Isn't
Yes.
the word beta? Or
Alpha.
Okay, fine. Okay, boomer.
Excuse you, I will have you know I'm very skippy text. Pardon text. Okay.
Oh, hell no. Okay, with that, thanks everyone for taking the time to listen in to my combo with Brendo. Wanna do the honors?
What? Call sign donkey signing out?
No, the typical
Oh
YouTube
yes. Remember to ding the notification that notification bell. Is that right? That's right.
I mean-
Smash the subscribe button.
Yeah,
Give it a thumbs up
yeah.
and share with your friends and family. Family dog.
Imagine if your family sees this.
Repost, requote, retweet,
Yeah.
resend.
Thank you, everybody. So, thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
See you.